Welcome to the back page. Today is February 7th. This is episode 14, and I'm Carter Sims.
And I'm Collin Crisp.
And today we'll be talking Super Bowl and NBA trade deadlines. So first, let's start off with some NFL talk. Colin, do we want to recap the AFC Championship or NFC Championship first?
I'd say we start off AFC. Ravens get upset. Kind of. I mean, a lot of people said the Chiefs were going to win going into it just because they usually do. But, Ravens were the favorite on paper, and it was a defensive game, not nearly as many points as I expected. What did you think watching it?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of a sloppy game to watch, but I think part of that's just both defenses making big plays. I think kind of the play that stuck out to me in this one was that Zay Flowers fumble right at the goal line. That's kind of just been playing on my mind the past couple of weeks whenever I think about this game, and I think it's kind of symbolic of how, maybe the Chiefs don't have the best offensive day. Maybe, the other team's offense can push them a little bit, but they're always able to make a play and get that stop on third down or force a turnover, and times it seems like it needs to happen. So that's kind of just been like the play of the game for me when I think of this one.
I mean, 100%, because if you look at the final score of it now, if that play doesn't be a fumble, then this could be an overtime game. Ravens could win that game. It's kind of like that was the only time after the first quarter of the game where it looked like the Ravens had any momentum to just put a stamp on the game, and they literally fumbled away right at the goal line.
So, before we get into this next week, I want to ask a question that I think some people have been asking. Did the Ravens miss their window in this kind of period? Because we had this conversation about the Bills. I want to kind of talk about the Ravens in this slightly. Was this the Ravens' best chance to go to the Super Bowl?
I think if they reload, they could do it. This is the first time Lamar's had really competent receivers, and they're still really young. Because they drafted the receivers that are really good besides Odell. So, and I don't even think he's the best receiver on that team. So, they're going to get, in theory, they should develop and get better going into next year, which Lamar with even better weapons is a big plus. That backfield's already really good, and they were kind of injured going into that game. And the O-line hasn't been a question mark. It's been really good throughout the year. That offense is super complete, and it's just going to get better. And then defensively, I think is where if you were going to put a question mark of do they regress, it'd be there. But Baltimore has so consistently put out secondaries that have been elite year in and year out, despite being the most injured offense in football for 5 years straight before this year. That secondary is what's kept them contending for playoffs pushes every year.
Yeah.
I just don't see how they fall off this year.
I'm just kind of looking outside, right? So, we'll have a healthy Joe Burrow next year. Let's, keep the possibility that the Bengals keep all their receivers and don't lose any of their major skill players. So we got the Bengals, who will probably be a threat to win the AFC North in that circumstance. We got the Browns. We'll see Deshaun Watson. I really don't think he's that level of quarterback, but, let's see. Maybe a healthy Deshaun Watson can help this Browns team take it to the next step. We got the Texans who have made a surge. They look like they're going to be even better next year. We got a Dolphins team who battled injuries all throughout the year, but think would have to be coming back healthy, loaded in talent on offense. Very solid defensively too, especially that D-line, which was banged up, which kind of hurt them down the stretch. You got a Buffalo team who's kind of on its last life. This next year, if they're able to retain Stephon Diggs, that's the Buffalo Bills time right now, right? You got a Jets team with a healthy Aaron Rodgers coming back. You got, you got Anthony Richardson on the Colts, who could be a bad matchup for teams. You got a Jaguars team that I don't think many people want to count out right now, just because of how this year went, kind of a back and forth with Houston for that division the whole time. Then you got a Chargers team with the new head coach. You still got the Chiefs, and trying to make sure I don't forget anybody. I guess if you want to make a Steelers argument, and they can find a quarterback or something. But
Mm-hmm.
like, there's a lot of teams that I think are going to be better next year than they were this year, and I'm not sure that I can see any realm where Baltimore does that. And so to go to the AFC Championship and have the field get better, and you not really have any avenue to do so, I'm not sure that's a good thing for them.
I don't know. I think that offense can get better. Defensively, I think that they're probably going to stay where they're at. But I could see the offense improving from this year to next year.
Yeah.
But there's indisputably a ton of talent in the AFC. The AFC is loaded as a conference. It's not top heavy like the NFC is. So I do think, obviously, any year you lose the AFC Championship, you missed a golden opportunity. Anytime you make it to the semifinal and you lose, that's that's something to be really sad over. But I don't think that them losing this year is going to make it to where they go into next year and we have to count them out. I think going into next year we're going to look at it and then we'll be deep into the play. I don't know if they'll be indisputed one seed again like they were this year, just because, like you said, everybody else around them is getting better too. The question is just how big a leap does everyone make and compared to each other. So I don't know if it'll be where they just dominate the AFC for another year, but I do think that we'll be going into playoffs saying, hey, that's a team that can win it right there.
I think also kind of a disappointing aspect for me for this game was the play calling, especially on offense for Baltimore. Just seemed like they didn't really stick to what they did all season that made them successful.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I thought that they really got away from what makes Baltimore Baltimore, and while I support trying to exploit the weakness of your opponent, that does not mean lose your identity in the process. And I feel as if Baltimore just got away from what they do. And if you don't go in there and play your A game against Kansas City, no matter the venue, you're going to lose. It's just Andy Reid will outcoach you if you don't come in there with your A-tier game plan. And odds are you cannot do that if you don't do what you usually do going into it.
Side note, this is kind of off track a little bit. But how did the Chiefs get away with literally everything in this game officiating-wise? You knew it was going to be a scrappy one. You see the video of Patrick Mahomes warming up, kicking Justin Tucker's tee over. Then Travis Kelce comes over and screws up their whole warm-up setup on their goal line. So you knew it was going to be a chippy one. And then we get out there, and Kelce's holding on every play and pushing after every play. Even throwing punches at times and diving on top of dudes, I just don't understand how this team gets away with everything.
Yeah, I feel like the Chiefs and the Bills are the two teams that you watch and you're like, oh, the refs must like these guys.
It's just it's every game too. People always talk. There's no Chiefs. I mean, you need a little bit of luck to get to any championship, officiating, injury, circumstances, all that type of stuff. But God, it's painful to watch. This. I'm not saying that the NFL is, incentivizing refs to do anything about it. It just seems like they're always kind of get away scot-free from anything that happens in these games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, kind of for the Chiefs, it's kind of just what I've been saying throughout this whole round. It seems like they always just find a way to win. Whether it's defensively, whether it's running the ball with Isaiah Pacheco, whether it's getting that quick check down to Travis Kelce on the second down to make it third manageable and pick it up. They always just kind of make the play that they need to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of mesmerizing to watch sometimes. So I don't listen to Dad away if you don't like him, but it just seems like they always figure it out.
Yeah, totally. And I think this year, arguably, it's in the Mahomes era, is the most defensive skill to offensive skill ratio. I feel like the defense, I'm not going to say carried, but they've been a big push, more than usual, on why the Chiefs are here. Going into this Niners game, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at analyzing the matchups. I'm like, well, the defense is going to have to show up, because if Mahomes and company shows up, their version of shows up this year does not look like the last few years of shows up. So but the defense, it's also different, but in a significantly better way. This is the first time I've went to a Chiefs Super Bowl thinking, oh, that defense could lock down their opponent and win them the game.
Yeah.
And that's cool. We haven't seen that out of Kansas City. They're winning games differently.
So, speaking of their opponent, this NFC Championship game, I don't think many people were surprised by the outcome. with the 49ers winning,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think this is the matchup that anyone wanted. For the most
Yeah.
part.
Well, I also don't think that the way we got to the Niners outcome was how people expected it, because Lions came out on all cylinders. Like it looked bad for the Niners there for a while.
I mean, yeah, I was, halftime. I think I went upstairs to go kind of get my clothes ready for school the next day. I had the game on an iPad in my room, and I wasn't, totally paying attention for a few minutes. And I turned, and it seemed like every time I looked, it was like, oh, scored another one. Hope they got another one back. Like, it seems like at every glance I had, the Niners fought back a little bit, and the Lions kind of just stalled a little bit after that halftime.
Mm-hmm. They looked out coached in the second half. They went in there halftime, adjusted it up, and Dan Campbell and company. I know it's arguable, but they should have kicked a field goal.
Yeah,
I'm on team field goal on that.
I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of similar to what we talked about with Baltimore not sticking to what they do. I think Detroit, I do got to give them credit for sticking to what they do. Like they're a very aggressive fourth down team, especially field goal versus going forward or going forward versus punt, stuff like that. And then play calling wise, I think they're not afraid to run stuff that they know works.
Yeah.
Against their opponent, even if maybe it's not executed the best time the first time, which they'll still go back to it. So I kind of applaud them for that a little bit, to be honest. Like I think if that's being aggressive on fourth down is part of your identity, and that's what got you there. You kind of have a little grace of doing it when you get to the big moments.
That's fair. I can see that.
And if they convert, we're saying a whole different thing right now.
Oh yeah, totally. I see that. It's like Baltimore when they went for 2 in that game and they ended up not getting it, and everybody gave them crap for it. But now it's kind of textbook. Like if you tie the game up with 0 seconds left, people just go for 2 now. But yeah, I think that Shanahan masterclass in that second half, man. Atlanta Falcons fan, biased for the guy. I think he was awesome when he was in Atlanta. I'm glad to see he's succeeding now. That was a Shanahan special in the second half.
Yeah, I mean this matchup happened 5 years ago, 2020, so no 4 years ago. But I think it's such a different game this time around. I think both these teams are very different. And same coaches, San Francisco has a different quarterback, obviously, but still a lot of the same rosters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is just such a different game, and part of that I think is how San Francisco's kind of matured in the past 4 years a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So just maybe not your prediction quite yet, but kind of what are you feeling about this game so far?
Well, I'm excited to see the contrast in what stars that we don't have this time and stars that we do. Because now we have Christian McCaffrey, a player we did not have in the first iteration of this matchup. Tyreek Hill will be missing. The Chiefs will not have the big receivers.
So what big players are in this game? So Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins.
Correct.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
You missed anybody else from the Niners side? Sure. For the most part, Kansas City has a whole new skill group.
Yeah, but offensively for San Francisco, they had Kittle, they had Debo, and they didn't have the same running back, but he also wasn't as good. So it's just an upgrade there. And so I think the new matchups here will be interesting to watch. I also think that the dynamic of the game being so much different than the first time is interesting because first iteration of this matchup, everyone just had the Chiefs. We went into it and it was just oh, well, Kansas City's going to go in there and win. Then San Fran almost pulled the upset and then they fell back in the end. Additionally, do you think Brock Purdy is more confident than Jimmy Garoppolo? Because I think Purdy's going to play. Purdy's the better quarterback right now than Garoppolo was at the time.
I think so. I've kind of come around on Brock Purdy a little bit, especially in the last 6 weeks of the season. I kind of talked earlier in the year about out of the 22 people that start for them, he's probably the 22nd best player.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying he's better than this left guard and this receiver and this cornerback. I'm not going for that, but I think he deserves a little more credit than I gave him throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of joked that he was in the MVP conversation just because he wore the Niners jerseys and stuff, but he's a very good quarterback, and I think I think part of what makes San Francisco is the fact that they can just depend on their quarterback to let the best players on their team make the plays. If that makes any sense. Like he's not going to go throwing stupid passes on a second down to get you into a bad third down situation. He's not going to go, throwing into a tight end who's got a linebacker and a corner on his back and that's about to get tipped and taken 60 yards the other way. Like he's a very call him a game manager. I think he was more than that, but he's a very
field general.
Yes, exactly. Like he can control the game and put his guys in positions to make plays. I think he's a very good point guard for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give Brock Purdy a little more credit than I have throughout the year. But I don't know. I just got this. I don't think it's going to be that close. I really do think Kansas City is going to win this, and it's going to be boring by the third quarter.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why I have that, but by the time Usher's got in his water and is kind of getting his breath back to normal, this game is kind of going to be a little out of hand.
I don't think there'll be enough points for it to get out of hand. I'm expecting us to go into it and we get to the end and I think it's going to be similar to Baltimore, Kansas City, where it's just a really low scoring game where the defenses showed up.
I agree with you on the defense, but I think that Kansas City defense, I don't know why. I think this is just their this is just their game, and obviously they got guys on the other side, right? Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, they got dudes over there. Christian McCaffrey, but I really think that they're going to be able to limit kind of that inside game for San Francisco, and it's going to kind of come down to outside the sticks, and that's not really what Kansas City likes to defend. And I'm not sure that's really where San Francisco wants to go on offense this game.
Gotcha.
Especially you look at the strength of their offense. They like to kind of get that run game established a little bit, and then put Kittle in situations where he can make reads and kind of slip out of blocks, or have an RPO where McCaffrey and Kittle are open. I don't know. I just think that Kansas City is going to kind of be able to limit what San Francisco wants to do, and in turn that'll give a lot more snaps to Kansas City's offense. Doing that way.
I see that. So prediction wise, you think Kansas City's going to a boat race a little strong?
Yeah, I'll give it final. So I'll go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask for.
27. I'll say 27 to 13 Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I want to say 17-13 Chiefs.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be that defensive. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those situations where the Rams Patriots Super Bowl where we get to the end of it and the Rams score at the end and make it look like it was closer than it was, or it's 17-6 for the whole fourth quarter and then Niners put some points up to make it look like it was all right. But I think it's gonna be one of the, I don't want to say snooze fest, but it's just some Big Ten football for our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
NBA trade deadline.
I saw a video of Lonzo Ball shooting in the gym
Yes.
the other day. Lonzo Ball hasn't played basketball in almost 2 years. It might be over 2 years by this point. But when he was still playing for the Bulls, they were the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
They were the best team in the league in terms of offensive efficiency. They were shooting the ball really well. They were getting up and down the court. I don't know if that is going to happen again when Lonzo comes back, because I don't know when Lonzo's coming back. But the thought of a healthy Lonzo, a healthy DeRozan, a healthy Zach LaVine, a healthy Vucevic, and maybe a first-round draft pick that they can get by tanking this season, that's kind of interesting. That's something I don't know if Chicago has the patience for right now.
Yeah.
And the downside, of that not working out, is going to be catastrophic. But it's an interesting idea to say, okay, we're going to hold our cards again and just shut our guys down for the rest of the year.
Do you think they have that in them?
I don't know. They're in play-in position.
Yes.
I don't think they're poised to do anything in play-in. Can I look at this real quick?
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
so I want to. They're currently not. So I'm going to look at the 2 teams above them, 2 teams behind them, just because of how things changed in the NBA. Right. Well, let's see the win difference. All right. So the drop off really is after the Nets. Right. That's kind of the Raptors are 3 games behind the Nets, and everyone else is kind of close throughout there. The Bulls currently are 24 and 27 OST,
Yes.
and the Magic have that record go flipped around. So
Mhm.
they're 3 games behind.
And so did the Heat.
I want the Magic over the Bulls in a playing scenario.
Mhm.
I'll take the Heat over the Bulls in playing scenario. I'll take the Hawks over the Bulls in playing scenario. I'll take the Nets over the Bulls in playing scenario. Raptors on their day, maybe. And then I don't think that the Pacers are going to fall. I don't think any of the top 6 teams are going to fall the top 6 in the East.
And even if the Pacers do, I mean, they'd boat race Chicago right now.
Exactly. So I don't think that they're really poised to do anything in the play.
Mm-hmm.
So to put themselves in position to draft either a really good power forward, that's interesting to think about. Because Patrick Williams has just not worked out for them.
Yeah.
They were patient on Patrick Williams for 3 years. It doesn't look like he's going to be like what some Chicago Bulls fans thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
The only like bright spot player wise lately has kind of been Kobe White. Kobe White, like I swear this dude was drafted 6 years ago. He's still like really young. I don't know how it's happened. They put him in a like in an ice chamber, but I like Kobe White, especially he's played really well ever since Zach LaVine's been down injury. How old is he? 23?
Yeah.
I could have sworn like he must have been drafted in the league at 17.
Well, 2019 was when he was drafted, so he was 19 when he got in the
He was a
league.
young guy. He went to UNC. I think.
18 or 19, he got in the league. So yeah, very young draft.
Yeah, so I think like the Bulls, I'm more open to them staying patient. Okay, I'll go ahead and take the Bulls.
Well, I originally was going to suggest a trade for the Bulls, but I don't know. I'm still in the mindset that they're going to blow it up. It's because I'm not sure that like Lonzo being inserted back into the team like fixes it. Because I know that they were really good when he was there, but I also just have I feel like there's more of a shot of a big drop off from Lonzo compared to what he used to be than what he is now. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, Nikola Vucevic, as a Hawks fan, I've watched him on the Magic be like one of the most underrated big men, like terrorists in the league. He's so good, and he's like very physical. He's really good at scoring points. He's one of the if you were saying there what's the top point scorers in the East since 2000, you wouldn't suspect him to be in the top 7, but he's there. He's really good at getting points on the board. So I go, okay, they probably won't trade him to another Eastern Conference team because they're still in playing contention. But if they were to ship him out west, what's a team that's buying? And my brain goes, well, the Suns are too top heavy. They can't get another star. The Pelicans have enough big men. Mavericks could use a Nikola.
What Mavericks trade did I see the other day? That was interesting. It was Grant Williams for somebody.
Let's see.
Forget who it was. But yeah, I agree. I think the Mavericks could be buyers, especially for that spot.
Mm-hmm.
See, let me get a trade and then I'll just throw it back to you real quick.
Okay, I got you. Let's see.
All right.
Grant Williams trade. Oh, I won't let me pull it up, but I did find it.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
We've seen Mikal Bridges in Brooklyn for almost a full year.
Yes.
The KD trade was last trade deadline. He doesn't look like he's going to be the number 1 player on that team when it's time for them to compete again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like other stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I love Mikal Bridges, one of my favorite players in the league. So why hold on to him, and why not just take and get some draft capital and sell him to a team that's competing now and is steadily building and has been patient and hasn't bit on the big move yet and wants to make smaller moves and not trade for like tier 1 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that team is within probably about 10 miles from where the Brooklyn Nets play basketball right now. Trade Mikal Bridges to the Knicks for draft capital. Maybe, can you pull up the Knicks roster real quick?
I got you. Let's see. Oh, wait. This one.
Yep. Yeah, maybe get back like a Miles McBride and Malachi Flynn. Because that Malachi Flynn trade, we both agreed at the time that that's not really going to be something that, prospers into a rotation thing. Honestly, even a Precious Achua. But trading Mikal Bridges to the Knicks, he's with all of his other Villanova buddies. Then you kind of have that wing where you wanted RJ Barrett to be that scorer, that confident shooter, that's someone who's reliable. Mikal Bridges hasn't missed a game ever.
Mm-hmm.
The dude doesn't miss games. Like, he played 83 games last season.
That's wild to think about.
So I think that would be a really good trade. And I don't know that it'll happen. Obviously, like, they're, within the same city, rivals. So it's a loose term in the NBA, but in the Eastern Conference still. But I think that would really be a good trade to see.
Mm-hmm. We would talk more. I believe we're out of time in terms.
Give me
of
3
trade.
minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, I got you.
I've watched this team, basically this team, for a year. And
Knicks? Oh, got you.
Steve Kerr said that they're not going to get rid of, obviously no one's going to get rid of Steph, not going to get rid of Clay, Draymond, or Andrew Wiggins. If you don't trade one of these guys, the Warriors might never make the playoffs again with Steph Curry. It's that bad. It's that bad. Like, Steph Curry in and of himself is a second round. We saw that last year. He's a second round appearance. But I love Klay Thompson. They can't trade his contract right now. No one wants to take on a 1 year for a guy with this type of shooting inefficiency at that age. So Klay Thompson sucked. Whether they want to trade him or not, like, he's not going to go because no one wants him. You got to trade Andrew Wiggins. Like, the Andrew Wiggins trade has been looking you in the face all year, and it hasn't been made. You could have done it with either of the Raptors guys. You could have gotten Pascal Siakam. You could have gotten OG Anunoby. The Warriors need to trade Andrew Wiggins to the Utah Jazz, give them some draft capital because, I don't know if they own many of their first-round picks anyway, but just give them some future first-round picks. Get Lauri Markkanen from the Utah Jazz. That would make this Warriors roster take such a huge step. You can put Jonathan Kuminga should start steadily for Andrew Wiggins in the lineup. You've had Brandon Podziemski has been huge off the bench. Trace Jackson Davis doesn't look like a rookie. He's been making plays. He's that stretch drive the Warriors been looking for. Kevon Looney is probably not as good as he was like 3 years ago, but he's still really reliable rebounding wise. Trade Andrew Wiggins to the Jazz. Give him Moses Moody. Give him whatever role players we don't. Give him Chris Paul for all I care. Get Lauri Markkanen, and this Warriors roster takes such a huge jump with spacing and ball movement already that I think you're going to see the change within 2 weeks after that happens.
Do you think they should be buyers right now?
The Warriors?
Yes.
Yes. You have Steph Curry on your team, and you're not one of the top teams of the Western Conference. You have to be a buyer.
Got you.
Steph Curry, aside from, I guess, LeBron James, Steph Curry has the most impact of any single player on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Take Steph Curry away from this Warriors roster, what happens?
They're probably last in the West.
Yeah. The Warriors have been to the NBA Finals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the past, 8 years, 9 years? The 1 year Steph Curry didn't play, they won 10 games. That's what no Steph Curry does to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time. Steph Curry is the Michael Jordan of this generation. Because he's willing to stay loyal. You need to have the guys around him so that he can just have the stage to go do what he does. Because once you get him to the finals, he's got you. Look at the Boston series. Look at Game 6. And who was the best player on that team? It wasn't Klay Thompson they were paying a bunch of money to. It wasn't Draymond Green they were paying a bunch of money to. It was Andrew Wiggins who you made a smart trade for when you had a guy that was not in the best situation but you knew was a good player and sold to a team that needed to switch. The Utah Jazz aren't competing right now. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. They did the thing where they had all their high-profile stars. They had Mike Conley. They had Rudy Gobert. They had Donovan Mitchell. They had that team. They traded those guys. They got good role players and draft capital. Now, competing teams need good role players. And Lauri Markkanen is probably one of the best role players in the NBA. He's not a star on a good team, but he's a great role player.
Mm-hmm.
So trade those guys out, get more draft capital, build up with the young guys that you already have. Taylor Hendricks look good for them. They have what they need to go forward. Trade Lauri Markkanen to the Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors need to let go of some of the feelings that they have attached to some of their guys right now.
Thank you for tuning into the Back Page. You can find us on Spotify and YouTube.